And the second big quarterback offseason trade in the NFL has been complete earlier this morning. Carson Wentz, formerly of the Philadelphia Eagles, now a part of the Indianapolis Colts. He's heading out west, if you want to call it that, Midwest. But Colts get their guy. Eagles establishing their guy, getting rid of the old guy. And I'm here to talk about it. So the Colts, without Phillip Rivers now, they had quarterback issue, so they go out and get Carson Wentz for a third-round pick and a conditional second-round pick where if Carson Wentz is able to play 75% of games or snaps for the Colts, then it becomes a first-round pick. So it's pretty much a first and a third because if Carson Wentz is going to the Colts, you assume he's going to be playing that many games unless he's just that bad. So third and a first to the Eagles. And for the Colts, right off the bat, this is a big win for them because Carson Wentz is the most valuable quarterback outside of Deshaun Watson, I think, in the market right now. Because sure, you could look at Dak Prescott, who's a free agent right now, but at the same time, Dak Prescott probably going to be asking a pretty penny, and then he's coming off that gruesome injury from last year. There's just a few question marks on him and how he's going to be able to rebound after that, how he's going to be able to perform. And for Deshaun Watson, I mean, he's like a top 5, top 6 quarterback in the league, so it's the Texans are saying, give us your whole franchise if you want Deshaun Watson. So that's kind of unrealistic for most, if not all teams. So Carson Wentz is kind of the guy that teams, I think, were looking at. A lot of teams. I know the Bears were as well. But the Colts eventually get him. And the big thing here for the Colts is that they aren't eating a whole lot of that Carson Wentz extension, that contract, because believe it or not, that huge extension that Carson Wentz signed a few years back hasn't even kicked in yet. It's kicking in this year. So that was really just the big turnoff for a lot of teams, was that they're going to have to pay this guy who's been kind of piss poor the past couple of years off this huge bag of money. But the Eagles eat $33.8 million for a dead cap hit, which is the largest in history. And I think that's what really makes the Colts winners here, because if the Colts were to just give up the picks for full contract Carson Wentz, with just the way that he's been kind of shaky the past couple of years, for a shaky quarterback like that, you don't know how much of a home run of a deal that is. But now $33.8 million, like that still frees up, that leaves the Colts with so much flexibility because they have around $60 million in cap right now. And for the Eagles, they're just in so much debt. They're in like we'll get to it later, but they're in probably the worst position right now of like most of pretty much any franchise. So the Colts kind of look like a complete team now, if I'm going to be honest, because what really was holding them back last year from being a perennial Super Bowl contender, all that, was Phillip Rivers getting up there in age. Obviously, he retired this year, so he had the noodle arm, no mobility. He was fragile. It was kind of just that this team can only go as far as Phil Rivers can take them, and now Carson Wentz, they get a much younger, much more athletic, much higher potential quarterback who can really take them pretty far if he has a good year. Because you look at the Colts, they have a great O-line headlined by like Quentin Nelson, one of the best in the game. They have a decent receiving core, which they have potential to improve upon with the 21st pick they have this year, as well as the $60 million. They have Paris Campbell, Michael Pittman, who right there, 2 young receivers who showed some promise at times. And then they have T.Y. Hilton if they choose to bring him back. He's a free agent this year. He could try to just get a bunch of money from a team, from whoever team's going to throw it at him, because he had a disappointing year last year. I don't know if the Colts are going to be willing to give him a whole lot of money, especially because he's getting up there in age. They have 3 good running backs on the roster: Jonathan Taylor, Nyheim Hines, and Jonathan Wilkins, which we saw last year kind of just carried their offense. They were the offense really, and it worked for them for a large portion of the year. And so the Colts will have the opportunity to go into a free agency class that is really, really loaded in terms of wide receiver talent. They can get they can go all the way for like a Chris Godwin, or they could go get a Juju Smith-Schuster, someone like that, that could really boost this team and make them like a very, very good offense, because really that's what's holding them back is their weapons right now. And because they have the stellar defense, one of the best in the league last year. Darius Leonard, one of the best linebackers in the league. Xavier Rhodes, DeForest Buckner, Bobby Okereke came out last year and was really good for them. They have a lot of young talent on that defense, which makes it makes them so lenient, makes them such big free agency contenders with all this cap space. And for the Eagles, Nick Sirianni, their new head coach, they're clearly fully committing to Jalen Hurts as of right now, which I mean was pretty clear if you saw it late in the end of the year. They were going Hurts over Wentz. I mean, at the end of the day, Wentz had been there long enough, and he hadn't been performing for the past couple of years. So I think the franchise thought, why not? May as well just go for a new guy, new blood. And Jalen Hurts is just that. He's young, athletic. He's what the NFL is going towards with those athletic, mobile QBs. But the question with a lot of those guys always comes down to be how will he develop as a passer. I don't see him as like a Kyler Murray type where he's going to have like that rocket arm and going to have great accuracy, because Kyler Murray, I mean, he's a baseball player. Like, he's clearly got a great arm. Jalen Hurts, the question for him has always been his passing ability. It's never been his athleticism. At Alabama, at Oklahoma, and now in the Eagles, everyone knew he could run. Everyone knew he could make plays with his feet. It's a matter of, can he consistently beat you through the air? Can he pick apart a defense? And at times he kind of did last year. He led the Eagles to a few wins, a few impressive wins, and just kept them in games for the most part. That's really, at the end of the day, what it came down to. He was keeping them competitive, which for a team that is honestly quite bad and is an absolute collapse from their Super Bowl, 3 years ago, was it? Is absurd how the mighty have fallen that quickly. It'll be interesting to see, though, if Nick Sirianni can get anything out of him in terms of his passing game, because Nick Sirianni, coming from the Colts, coincidentally, as the passing game coach, passing game coordinator, seeing that he has a great background in terms of passing, which is what their quarterback needs to work on. Will he be able to get more out of the young QB? Because they don't have a whole lot of receiving right now. Zach Ertz, it looks like he may stay on the team because it was rumored that he'll move with Carson Wentz, but now it seems like he might just stay on the Eagles. They have Jalen Reagor, who he showed his flashes of speed at times, but still it's undersized receiver who's been inconsistent at times, doesn't have the best hands in the world. Can he develop with Jalen Hurts? And outside of that, they don't really have much else on the offense, and their defense ain't that great as well. So they're kind of a mess of a franchise. They gotta find some way to just get these aging players like Fletcher Cox and Alshon Jeffrey, although his contract may be up now. They got to make sure that they can get the aging players off of the team just to restart, because they need to hit the restart button. They've done it with the coach. They've done it with the quarterback. They didn't do it for the rest of the team. And I think the last main point is that clearly the Eagles were completely lying about, first off, what they wanted for or maybe not lying about what they wanted for Carson Wentz, but they were lying about what they're getting offered. And the rumors about what they were getting offered were completely wrong, because it was coming out that Ryan Pace, GM of the Bears, was saying, oh, we'll give you like 3 first-round picks. Clearly that didn't happen. So, I don't know what the Eagles, I mean, it's better to say that you want more than to want less. And by throwing out that other teams are giving you this, that, the other, it makes it more competitive. But at the end of the day, this is way less lucrative of a deal than it could have been, than what Twitter thought it was going to be. And it's kind of, I think this is the right value for a guy like Carson Wentz, who has the potential to be good, but at the end of the day, he hasn't shown it the past few years, and has that like gross contract. This is what you were going to get for him. And for the Eagles, anything is good for him, because the last thing you wanted to do was just cut the guy. He clearly was done in Philadelphia, and he wasn't going to sit around as a backup. You had to get rid of him somehow. This is a perfect way to do it. Sure, it sucks that you're eating all that money, but at the end of the day, you got to do what you got to do. The Eagles are in a horrible spot now as a franchise. They're negative $41 million in cap. And yeah, as I mentioned, they have all these aging players and not a whole lot of new, young, emerging players. The receiving core is one of the worst in the league and has been for the past couple of years. So there's not a whole lot of prospect for them to get better. They do have a top 10 pick, I think the 6th pick in the draft. So they're going to be able to get a top talent there. And it'll be interesting to see where they go, what direction they go in. I think they'd look maybe to defense, get a guy maybe if Micah Parsons is available. I think that's who you want. because really they have a whole lot of holes, and they just got to fill them slowly and steadily. And first they just got to make sure that they cover up the old holes before they, if that makes sense. That was a really bad analogy, but they got to get rid of the old players before they can get the new good young players. So it'll be interesting to see what the Eagles do. Philly, I'm sorry that you guys are in such a horrible position. You honestly don't really deserve it all that much. You finally got your Super Bowl. It seemed like you guys were going to be contenders for the next few years, and then boom, just like that, you're at the bottom right once again. So tough scenes for them. Colts franchise, man, they do such a great job year in and year out competing, and it's great for the league, and it's great for the city of Indianapolis because that's a great football town, and they get, once again, a competitive team. Carson Wentz should be really good for them.